Hello, I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'd like to talk about the training block leading up to my most recent marathon in Yokohama. It's about the types of training runs I did and also the 3 races I took part in during the build-up. After that, I'd like to talk about the one thing I did on race day that I think made a massive difference to the overall outcome of the race. So I think whatever the race distance is that you're about to do, you can learn so much from your previous effort at that particular distance. And my previous marathon had come just over a year earlier in Chester. Crossing the line in Chester felt great. And I think one of the reasons it felt great is because there was plenty about that day, that race, that didn't feel great. I definitely hit the wall, and there was moments where I really was definitely in survival mode. But it did, I did learn a lot from it. And this time around, I wanted to put those lessons that I learned, hopefully, into practice. The build up to the marathon started 3 months before the actual race. At this point, I was doing 3 steady runs a week between 8 and 10 miles, and then mixed in between these steady runs was some speed work. So I do subscribe to the notion of no 2 hard days in a row. So it was a case of steady runs and then some speed work, some tempo runs, some track interval sessions as well. And then as the month went on, I started to build up the duration of both the speed work. So that started out as 20 minutes for the tempo runs, and I started to increase that to around half an hour. And then the distance of the steady runs went from 10 miles up to 12 to 14. So as the month went on, it was about just gradually increasing and trying to be sensible with that increase, not too much too soon. So then, as that month came to an end and I got inside of 2 months to go, I took part in the Derry Half Marathon. So this was not only a great race to take part in and a chance to have a go at my personal best, but it was also a great chance to see where my training was at, where my fitness was, how the speed was, and to really test out if hopefully I was on course, for the marathon. And also, what was nice about that is it did involve some traveling and being away from home. Obviously, not as far as traveling to Japan and not being away for as long as I would be, but it was a good chance to be away from home comforts. Unfortunately, the half marathon in Derry did go really well, so it was a good sign that hopefully the training was going in the right direction. And once I got back from there, after an easier week getting back into the training, I really wanted to focus on building back up both the steady runs and get back to that 2 hour duration for those runs, which I think is really effective. I also wanted to work on the speed quite a lot as well, because I knew that was going to be an important factor. So as the weeks went on, it was a case of building those up. And then with a month to go before the marathon, I took part in the Knutsford 10K. And I wanted to do this because although it was a lot shorter distance than the marathon itself, it would be a really good test of the speed and the endurance, and just to see if that training was indeed going the right way. Fortunately, Knutsford went really well. I managed to sneak a 1 second PB, so that was nice, and that really sort of gave me the confidence that the training was going well. After Knutsford, and with 3 weeks to go, I did my first 20-mile training run of this block. 2 days later, I did a 23-mile run. And I know there's different opinions on how long your longest run should be during marathon training, and different things are going to work for different people. But for me, I like to know that I can do almost the distance that's going to be required on race day, both physically and I think psychologically as well. I like to know that I can cover pretty much the distance that's going to be required. Then, with exactly 2 weeks until the marathon, I took part in my final race of this training block, which was the Wirral 10K. So it was, again, it was another really nice race to enter, and it was also a good chance to see where the speed was at. It was a good test to see, hopefully, if I was on track. And also, I wanted to do it because it would keep me in that kind of racing sort of, experience, that kind of getting used to the race day and the mindset and how it would feel when you really kind of push yourself under those race conditions. So, that's why I wanted to do that. And unfortunately, it went well. Not quite a personal best this time, but still a really nice race. So after the Wirral 10K, it was inside of the 2 weeks before the race, and in this kind of week before race week, I did actually do my longest runs of the training block, and that was 24 miles. So I did a 24 miler on the Tuesday, then a 20 miler on the Thursday, and then a final 24-mile run on the Saturday. And again, that was because I wanted to know that I could do almost that marathon distance. And the reason I decided to train quite heavily on that week is because I knew that the following week, the actual week of the race, I'd be doing quite a bit of traveling, and be some days completely ruled out through travel. So that last week really was the taper week, and I did very little on that final week. There was a tempo session on the Monday, a half an hour tempo session, and then there was a final run on the Friday before Sunday's race, which was just a nice easy 6 mile kind of super easy shakeout run. So that was the Friday, and then nothing on the Saturday, and then the actual race on Sunday. And that was it. That was the training block. So I think really the actual block went well. I think the balance between the long runs and the tempo runs, the speed work was quite good. I think maybe next time I perhaps might leave out one of those 10K races, and substitute that for another long run, another maybe 20-mile run, and maybe that would allow me to do actually a few more steady runs, because I was also like tapering for those runs. I would taper for the 10K slightly, and then I would take a few easy days after those races. So I think maybe one less race next time for the next marathon. Definitely keep a half marathon a month before. I think that worked really well, but I think perhaps leave out one of the 10Ks. But I think generally it went quite well, and the actual race result was, it was a personal best. So I'm kind of pleased with how the training went. So the one thing I did differently during this race, which I think made a massive difference to the overall outcome, was to do with hydration. So my strategy when it comes to the marathon is to make use of World Athletics Technical Rule 55.8.7, which states that an athlete may carry water or refreshments by hand, provided they carried it from the start of the race. So during the Chester Marathon, I carried this on a soft flask, which worked quite well. The only problem was it wasn't enough, and I just didn't take on board enough water during that race. So this time around, what's better than one soft flask? Another soft flask. So this one I had full, and this one I had about 250 milliliters, and that worked much better this time, so that by the end of the race I used up both of these, and that worked much better this time around. I made sure I took on a lot more water during the race, and I think hydration, I know it might be an obvious one to say, but it's so crucial during a marathon. So yeah, that was the build up to the Yokohama Marathon, and the runs and the races that helped get me to 2:34. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. All the best.